Good morning, everyone. Saturday morning. Here's the tornado count for 2025 up to 1,278 tornadoes when this many days through. And I think this stopped on the 27th, if I recall. Yeah, 27th. So not really up to date, but pretty close. Well above what would be considered normal through this period, which is just over 1,000. So I think we already have a sense for that, and we can trace this tornado madness all the way back to March. And it continues today. Here's severe weather reports for the last 24 hours. In particular, we've got large hail reports there in South Dakota, another tornado report. I'll focus on that in a minute, and also some pretty high wind reports there, including some gusts over 80. Here are the tornado reports. One just skirted by a thunderstorm north of Bismarck, North Dakota. A couple of others, and it seems like that tornado probably is related to a different storm, or perhaps this was a line. A lot of times that just happened last night, so I didn't check the radar data exclusively. And then here are the thunderstorm wind gusts. Now we're in, here's Sioux Falls, here's Sioux City, South Dakota, one Boeing thunderstorm segment, 83, 86, 83 mile per hour wind gusts, and some that are over 70 miles per hour. The official criteria just has to be 59 miles per hour or greater. If they think that's going to happen, that will be enough for a severe thunderstorm warning. So that's some pretty serious stuff. And we are in the season where straight line winds, severe thunderstorm gusts start to win out over hail or tornadoes. All those can still happen, but the wind gusts seem to be most prevalent. The atmosphere is just very unstable this time of year. So here's the visible satellite loop this morning. We have this kind of ragtag area here of showers and thunderstorms, but none of that is expected to be widespread severe activity. Maybe some heavy downpours, a couple flash flood warnings. Thunderstorm activity left over from last night. You can see the cirrus blow-off clouds there in Minnesota, and we'll focus on this region up here and talk about what the severe weather possibilities are. Here is the simulated radar for the next 24 hours. Notice that there are some thunderstorms in southern Missouri, getting over into eastern Missouri. Again, not expected to be severe, but these that form up here in Minnesota will be. And again, the typical line fashion the next 24 hours. So this would end sometime around 6 or 7 a.m. on Sunday morning. So again, watch that activity there in Minnesota blossom up around Fargo and sink south and southeastward through that state. The jet stream setup on this Saturday, this is what it's forecast to be about noon, 1 o'clock or so. The strongest belt of westerlies, the winds aloft, the jet stream is what we're looking for to support widespread severe weather possibilities and the support of supercells. So one of the things supercells need are a good wind structure from the base of the storm and the ground level basically to this level, about 500 millibars or a little higher. And if they have that, then that means they can form in a way where the structure of the storm doesn't collapse upon itself like summertime air mass types of thunderstorms do. So we're always looking to see where the jet stream is, in particular any disturbances that may be embedded in it. It looks like there's a weak one right there in Montana, which would make a lot of sense because if we take a look at the severe thunderstorm outlooks, actually there is one along this frontal band in Pennsylvania, parts of New York, up to Albany, almost back to Pittsburgh. So that's a separate issue. And then we have this thunderstorm area here that's definitely connected to that thunderstorm line I showed you on the HRRR. Tornado threat, a weak one there in that eastern activity, and then still a 5% chance, and I'll zoom in on that for Minnesota. So Minneapolis definitely in the heart of that. So St. Cloud back over to Watertown, South Dakota. And so again, 5% chance. You know, if you're going to find that high of a probability this late into spring, really summer, it's going to be up north most likely. Nadocast runs perfectly. This is the 0Z run. So this is data that was initialized last night at 7. This is updated here, probably around noon. But I'm not thinking it's going to be a whole lot different than that. So yeah, kind of an agreement there that central Minnesota and the Minneapolis area has a tornado threat significant enough to mention here. CSU is backing off on that a little bit, not as high, but the bullseye is in about the same place. Not getting too jacked up about hail or high wind probabilities on this particular run, although I can certainly see how that wind probability could be a little bit higher ahead of some of those storms. And then on Sunday, this entire jet stream pattern, you see a trough of low pressure right there, stronger winds, so that would support severe weather, and certainly that is the case here. We have this level 2 out of 5 that stretches from Des Moines, central Iowa, straight up into the heart of Wisconsin and up into parts of the UP of Michigan. A little bit of a storm risk there around Richmond and Washington, D.C. as well. CSU's model has the tornado risk in the UP in northern Wisconsin, perfectly acceptable for this time of year. That's where the jet stream's hanging out. And then again, the usual complement of hail and high winds going with that. Again, I'd probably emphasize the high wind a little bit more with that. And if we look at the jet stream, it's interesting. On Monday, there's actually a pretty sharp trough of low pressure that's sinking in through the Great Lakes states. So out ahead of this here, I think there's probably room to enhance the outlooks I'm about to show you. But for now, on Monday, it's just these two areas of level 1. But I do think that we would probably see this level 1 extend more into Michigan, probably keep this one out here. And if you look at CSU's idea of what that looks like, notice they put the tornado threat way up here in Ontario and Quebec. I think that would actually kind of trickle down more into the lower peninsula of Michigan on Monday, if I had to guess. And the wind probabilities with an evolving squall line out ahead of that deep trough will be from St. Louis over to Indianapolis and maybe over to Dayton, covering much of Indiana. Now, beyond day 3, which is Monday, the Storm Prediction Center is not making any official forecast word. They would go on a 15% probability, and so the CSU model is showing that on the East Coast. So if you're thinking, so here's what the SPC is saying now, not much, but they may, if you're looking for a threat area that may be highlighted later, that's where I would look. And on Wednesday, that disappears altogether. In fact, it really kind of settles down quite a bit because the jet stream is taking a dip in the northeast for cooler and drier air with a ridge building here. So your severe weather probabilities are going to be greatly diminished. You don't have that same jet stream wind that I showed you on those first 3-day slides. That's pretty active. And then on Friday, which is 1 week away, again, kind of a broad brush approach to that risk. Same is true on the 7-day composite for supercells, trying to find that thunderstorm that may produce severe weather. It maximizes in those areas we just showed you. And again, this is a 7-day composite. So really, this is the first 3 or 4 days, 3 days really. And then after that, it doesn't go day by day, but it just kind of gives you an idea. But then, and that goes into the 4th, so the 4th of July weekend, or at least the 4th, looks a little good, but then the rest of the 4th of July weekend, so this is July 5th is Saturday, so it looks like the thunderstorms may be pretty active again. Mother Nature's fireworks from Nebraska central into the core of Iowa there, parts of Illinois, and then it really takes a turn downward July 12th through July 18th. There might be a few supercells, but that has retreated into Canada in a typical summertime fashion. Thanks for watching today's edition of Severe Thunderstorm Outlooks. This is published every day after the morning Storm Prediction Center update. Also, remember to check that site off on day 1 because they update it fairly frequently. If you like this video, please like it. Also, you can subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.